Did that woman care about that? No. She gleefully incarcerated me for another 2 weeks just because I hadn't finished out the previous month that had been given to me because we'd gone through an appeal. It's kind of a long, convoluted story, the legalities of this thing. But the perspective of the court that I deserved jail time more than my son deserved his father was baffling to me. This is also a time of the year I'm involved in the equestrian industry in Virginia. This is the time of the year where I make my money. I fell behind because in the wintertime in Virginia, most horse people go under their little rocks and they come back out again in April when the weather gets warm. So being a newcomer to Virginia, I didn't have a steady stream of income throughout that time. Such is life, I fell behind. My boy was not suffering, the family was taking care of him. He's, as I said, my ex-wife and I get along great, better than we did before we were married, and certainly better than during the time that during our marriage. So the fact that I was being punished, I guess, for having fallen behind, especially during the time of the year where I could actually make the money to come up and pay this child support, that didn't make any sense to me. It's cost me more money legally as far as paying attorneys and so on and so forth and lost wages than the amount of money that I supposedly owe for the child support. And yet, the state of Virginia, and here's the kicker, and I'll leave you with this. When my ex-wife pulled the papers on this in New York State and said, I no longer want this to continue, she didn't realize actually that it could end up being this way. She spoke with the parties involved in Virginia, the caseworker, the attorney who's doing that, and the caseworker in New York State. And they said you have two choices. You can either withdraw the case, or the state of Virginia is going to put this arrearage back on and pursue the $12,000 that they claim is owed. She said, I want to withdraw the case. The Virginia side pleaded with her not to withdraw the case. There have been so many man-hours put into this, and so many people have done so much work, and you just can't do that, and so on and so forth. Next process is, she says to my attorney, second attorney involved in this process, because I'm getting creamed in court, she claims that, okay, now that we've made this arrangement, she will sign the document, the motion to dismiss this, so on and so forth, so the whole thing can go away. We get there in court on the day that she manages to get me back into prison for 2 more weeks, and she says to my attorney, I'm sorry, I can't sign this agreement because I have since found out that this is a Connecticut order, it's not a New York State order, and she's going to try to get the state of Connecticut to pick up this baton now and roll along with her, and neither of us, meaning X or myself, have lived anywhere near Connecticut in 6 or 7 years. She is so determined to put me and others like me in jail again and again and again. And my parents have advised me not to get involved in this process. My employers who own published newspapers have asked me not, do you really want to get involved in this? And I have told them, listen, if I have 1 year left in my life, if it's 2 years, hopefully it's 10 or 20 years, but if it's 1 year or 6 months or however long it is, I cannot sit idly and not do something about the fact that there are people out there, good people, men and women both, being incarcerated by a system and treated as criminals and losing their lives and their livelihoods and their homes and their families and children and all of that, and just let it go by. I just can't do that. So, thank you for your time, everyone. Yes, sir.
Were you incarcerated as a felon?
Interesting concept. The state of Virginia has a work release program. You have to be in the county that offers that work release program in order for you to have the opportunity to get out and so on and so forth. Rappahannock County is the county that incarcerated me to begin with. In Virginia, they do not have work release. I was housed with the general population. general population, orange gear, all of that sort of thing, child molester in there, suspected murderer in there, home invasion guys in there. Okay, so here I am, 6'3", tan, and fit. I didn't have a problem with the population. But I could see a lot of other guys having a big problem with the population. I get transferred to another county through political pressure, so on and so forth, and immediately now I'm out, I'm earning my living, I can deal with sleeping in the jail even though it's not ideal. We're separated, we're amongst people that aren't drug addicts and so on and so forth because they wouldn't be on work release. But yeah, they treat us like, if they could bring us in there shackled with a ball attached to they would do that. They would do that.
We live in a society today where there are probably 100,000 people that are incarcerated for this particular issue at any given time. Yet we can't get the numbers because they're not in there for failure to pay, they're in there for contempt of court. And we can't get a good handle on this. They're in for contempt of court. And so we can't get a good handle on who they are and where they are and how many there are. And this is a reporting problem. This is obfuscation on behalf of the government to keep us from talking about and understanding the problem. Of course, no one better at the problem in this country than Stephen Baskerville. He's written on it. He understands it. His forthcoming book will delve very deeply into what has been going on in this country for a number of years. And without further ado, my friend and colleague, Stephen Baskerville.
Thank you, Mike. I won't go on very long. The subject has been covered very well and very eloquently by the rest of the panel. I'll just make a summary of my argument from my forthcoming book that I hope will put this in some perspective from an academic point of view. And I think to sum up the argument about that, I think it's fair to say that this entire problem is virtually entirely a problem of the abuse of government power. This is not an excess, this is not excessive zeal, this is a problem of the abuse of government power entirely. There is no evidence, no scholarly evidence, no government evidence of any kind that there's a problem in this country of fathers abandoning their children. There is no scholarly evidence, no government evidence has ever been presented that there is a problem of chronic non-payment or non-support of children by American fathers or parents. It is not a case of the cure being worse than the disease, it is a case of the cure creating the disease. If you look at it chronologically, the child support machinery was created, was changed, was radicalized, not in response to a problem of deadbeat dads. The child support machinery was changed first in the 1980s. The hysteria about deadbeat dads, you will recall, began in the 1990s. Okay, so the machinery, the governmental machinery was created first. The problem came in the following decade. The child support machinery was justified and created ostensibly as a system for the system of welfare, as an extension of the welfare system to recover welfare costs among low-income families. Okay, in fact, it is almost entirely now a system of plundering middle-class fathers, and Liebring said incarcerating low-income fathers. And in other words, if